Welcome back to Primus Studios. Today we have yet another video, and I'm actually super excited for this one. This being the Transformers Rise of the Beasts Scourge. Or if you want to do it, Pro Maximum Scourge, because this is Pro Maximum and everything. It's basically AMK Pro with the Maximum series. But, and here we have him right now. Right now, this is the back of the figure, and I really love how this guy came out. Before I even take a closer look at him, he took about 34 days to make. I made him in May 15th, and I got straight to work. Yeah, like I said, I got straight to work. I got to see what I had to do, and it's looking pretty good right now. But we'll be back with a slight update, because I do think I have to modify like one or two things. So we'll be right back. All right, I'm back. It was just a short bit. I just wanted to change something, and I mean, let's get down to the basics. That being, this guy looks incredible. So we will take a closer look, as I said. But I mean, just take a look at the back first, because I did want to mention the back. There's such immaculate detail that I had to put into the back, and it looks super cool. I couldn't add like the whole rusty idea for the shoulders in the back, but this is definitely inspired by YOLO Park. I couldn't get anything from 3.0 from their back, so I couldn't do anything from that. But this is definitely inspired by, of course, the movie and YOLO Park. But if you can see closely, which we will take a close look, we have the spinal cord, which does stick out a bit way too much, but I think it's fine. I wouldn't say worth it, but one would argue fine. And then I have but the whole back is mainly inspired by, I forgot what it's called, by YOLO Park, mainly because if you see here, if I angle the joints here, I'll figure out a picture that has like that look, but definitely gave me the idea to make the back of the character. And I have these nice like little like piston pieces that he had and the circular discs before having the spinal cord. And of course I wanted to add these pieces here to give him kind of like a glute, or a gluteus. I'm not gonna say the same. I'm not gonna say the actual word, like just to kind of give him a rear end, because apparently he does have one. It's barely noticeable, but it is there. And you have a bit of rust over here and there. I'm very proud of this back, especially the smokestacks. I would have preferred these to be fully silver, but I think having them be black would work, because it's like a kind of, I don't know how you would call it, like tar that like goes on it, or like too much tar that eventually just blackened out the whole smokestack. So I think that's pretty cool. And we will take a closer look at the arms when we get around there. But the leg on the back is kind of lackluster. I mean, you have these nice pieces that stick out, but this is another Optimus Prime situation where you have to remove the whole piece, and we will, so don't worry. But, and then the back of the head sculpt, everything in here is very well shaped. I even added the small little shoulder pads. I couldn't add them fully sticking out into a different area, but we have that. Then the head sculpt with the huge bit sticking out. But yeah, overall, it's just such a neat design. I wanted to keep the whole back gray, because I couldn't add too much like rusted things. And then here's the side profile of this side of the figure, and this guy's great. I couldn't add the weird pieces or the extensions, which is kind of why I'm sad, because I couldn't add that. And then here's the second side, which we will go into, and then let's take a closer look at the front. So the front is just a whole nother immaculate story. I put so much work into the front, because the back only took me about a week, if not like 2 or 3 days. So I spent like around 31 or 32 days, if not just a whole month on this guy, on this guy's front, to get this thing perfect, because it's not perfect, but it's as much as I could get it. This vent piece starts to come out, so I think just do that. But I added some red instead of brown, just so that you can have some rusted effect here. But he has some red over here. He has gray and he has brown. But there are some hints of multiple different colors, because I wanted to emulate that kind of rusting feeling that he got. We'll take a even closer look at the body soon. This is what we get, and I really like it. Which we will talk about this later on. But I did manage to get all this red, the dark red here. Originally they were these pieces. Depending on the thumbnail of the video, you will see it. And I put I decided to make the rusted red piece, or the dark crimson, in the middle, just so that everything else can match perfectly. There are some like very dark brownish or orangish, and then there's a tan. All of this is here just so it can combine that very rusted feel, which we are taking a closer look at the chest. And this was something I spent the most effort time in, because I noticed, mainly during the transforming ones, and I don't blame them because I don't think they would be able to do it. Even if they did, it would take a bit more engineering, like having ball joints or multiple hinges or just swivels just to get that to work. I put a swivel, I didn't put a ball joint on it, or a friction joint, if I may, but that's how I got it. And I mean, something's up with my TV, but anyways, everything looks very cool. I managed to add the small little headlights in the middle. I couldn't add them here without making them look a bit more ugly. The head sculpt, I do argue, is a bit lackluster because I couldn't get anything to fit. I couldn't make anything. So he just looks really massive and unproportionate, but I think this is the best I could have gotten out of it. And then, of course, the shoulders that we were talking about, they're no longer in the old versions. There's like 2 or 3 versions. I'm going to show them in the corner. Especially during the first few makings of this design, he definitely had a completely different approach. I had a completely different approach in the design, which we'll take a closer look at. But I had a completely different approach for his design originally, which there are so many images I'm going to show off here, which definitely took the most amount of time figuring out which one's more accurate, which one will look more proportional, and of course, the main thing we're here to talk about, the insignias. And there's barely insignias around the body, but there are studs if you want to add the insignias. Of course, I wouldn't add instructions, but I tend to act as if this is a figure review. But over here you can see there's a few hinges that stick out here and there from the body, which is where the insignias can be implemented. These circular dishes or discs, depending on what you want, can actually be either insignias, or it can just be a specific style of the design. So, but over here is the insignia. If we look to the back, he doesn't really have an insignia here. He has one insignia here, but it's mainly in this part. He has like 2 insignias right here. This piece is supposed to emulate one, just to show that I actually do care about adding the insignias. There's one right here, one here. I couldn't add any here, but there's one right there. There should be some in the back. If not, it's whatever. But yeah. And then the legs are probably the lackluster. I tried spending so much time in the legs, but I got what I can, because the legs were very stocky but also very thin, and he had these plates that stuck out and this circular design over here, so I decided to add that. He had a piston that looked like it would connect, so I managed to make this thing square while still making it into my design. It's supposed to be fully accurate because it still has some of my design. There's of course that weird flap, but it doesn't connect here. And the foot is the worst out of everything, honestly. This is the worst foot design I've ever made. And enough time without forgetting about it. Even though this video is not going to release until July. It's today, June 18th for me. But because I have so much on schedule and I'm very busy, aside from all Legos and everything, so yeah, this is just a really cool design, man. I love every inspiration that I got out of it. So we'll put that aside and we'll look at his accessories. So, alright, now his accessories are pretty big. He comes with, I think, 15 accessories, but he comes with a lot this time around. And I'm so glad to finally, and I mean finally, give my characters accessories. So let's go ahead and shoot the bucket. Not literally, or throw the football, however you want to say it. But first he comes with this. This is the transwarp key. And the transwarp key comes with 2 extra pieces. These pieces right here, this is for the beginning of the movie, and you can just swap these pieces out. Take these pieces back in, and there you go. You have the regular transwarp key from the end, the middle and ending of the movie. This is from the beginning of the movie, before they encase it. And what seems to be birchwood, I don't really know. Right? And then we have, but these are mainly like add-ons or accessories. We have his alternate faceplate, which, like I've said many times before, does definitely feel lackluster, but like I said, scheduling and time is quite a pain in my ass. So, but actually no, here's a better one, because this has the great piece. So, and then this is just an extra piece for a part of the hand. Which, speaking of which, we do come with the weapons. This cannon is specifically designed. I couldn't find another circular dish or disc, so I couldn't add that. But this is the This is basically the weapon that he threw at Air Razor. That's supposed to. I was gonna add like a disc right here to make it look like as if it was gonna shoot out. But this is the cannon that he adds and shoots at Air Razor. This is the add-on cannon, which is supposed to just mount onto Scourge's hand. And then the blade. The blade is the most lackluster. I've been reusing this since the first time I ever made a Scourge. So, but this is what you got. So, and it simply latches on. And here's the best part. He comes with the claws, the alternate claw parts, which we will mount every single one of these onto the figure right now. But there's the beginning of the movie and the middle and the end of the movie. So I think it kind of looks a bit blurry. I also forgot to mention the neck piece was really hard to make without making it look very ugly. But, and to put on the blade, which you don't really see halfway through the movie, you have to kind of remove the hand, which is held on just by a clip. And you're gonna want to remove this piece and just, once you attach it, blade attaches right there. Damn it. And once you get the blade on, there you go. It attaches right on. And you can actually hinge it, which is the best part, because you can just, well, without it falling apart, which it's doing, is you can, wow, what a pain in my ass. But basically what you can do is you can have the whole thing like hinged. I realized it wasn't even on there, but you can have the whole piece hinged back, and since this is rotatable, you can have this placed all the way back and then just hinge this whole piece out, and then boom, stick it out. And if you really want to, you can grab it, just like the Studio series, which I feel like was a really neat trick that I did, and I felt like I would have never been able to do that. Actually, no, I didn't ever think of doing that until I figured out a way to mount the blade. So the blade mounting is pretty cool. But you can also add, since there are studs here, you can add the transwarp key into the other hand. Now, because I didn't want the accessory bit to take over the whole entire review, or the entire review, actually. Sorry, bit of correction. I didn't want to take it. I didn't want it to take over the entire review. I decided to not add the clear plastic effect to make it like float and rotate. And to add the cannon, speaking of which, you just kind of remove the ball joint. Or you gotta remove the ball joint, remove this piece if you want, and then just attach it. Shit. There we go. And then that's the cannon. I can't necessarily clamp this piece, but it can definitely clamp down. And you can just, depending if you have way more tighter joints, you can definitely pose it. So, and I'm trying to save the claw for last, and the gun and the claw, but to remove the head, all you do is just pop that piece out, and then you are left with the ugly face. Okay, it's not the face. You grab the, you can always modify and of course change the head up a bit. Then you have that, and then this whole battle damage piece that was originally on SCOURGE in the movie is revealed. It's not necessarily one-on-one, but best I could do. And then I could always just do that, because a part of the dome is really missing from the character. So closer look. And then to attach the claws, to add the claws, simple. You just push down this piece, and the whole claw part comes out. Now, I originally wanted the hand to be an accessory, but I kind of wanted to do what Yellow Park did. So, yeah, he does have the hand as an accessory. Now, the proudest thing I did was actually be able to make this thing mount onto this figure. And I'm very proud of it. Now, basically, these are the only pieces that come off. You basically just take the front pieces out. But there's the articulation segments, so I don't have to bring it up. You grab the, I think, scratch. But you grab the arm extensions and you just latch it on to there. And you're not removing the hinges, you're just latching it on. And once you do that, you just spread them out. And there's the claw. Now the same thing here, you just, and it just latches on like that. It's pretty ugly for a cannon. I couldn't think of anything else without overdoing it, having to make another hand and everything. But I guarantee there's some creative artist out there who would have done better with the accessories. But I'm just glad I was able to add accessories. Because for a while I've had so many complaints, not mainly in YouTube, but that I never really got accessories. I never added accessories. I had complaints myself, I couldn't add accessories. I had plans to add accessories. I never really got there. But we're here now, so let's mount it onto the hand. And there it is. I do agree. One would argue that the claw is too big, and I can definitely see what you're talking about. The claw piece, or claw piece part right there, is definitely way too big. But it's better to latch onto Optimus Prime's head at least. So he's not going anywhere until I make Rise of the Beast Optimus Prime, which, speaking of which, sadly, we're not getting him anytime soon. I hate to break it to you. But currently, if you want to see what he's looking like now, this is what he's looking like now. So you're not going to get him right now. So I'd rather you please be patient. But this is definitely if you want to create the end of the movie. So very, very, very cool. So yeah, I'm gonna leave him posed like this, and we're going to go look at kinds of size comparisons. All right, now that we're at the size comparisons, let's talk size comparisons. This time we have the running theory that used to go around during Rise of the Beast, that Scourge was the Bay vs. Optimus Prime. And there's the Base vs. Optimus Prime. And he stands kind of short, not by much. I didn't really want to base too much off of this guy. I wanted to base some slight proportions, but that's about it. I did forget to mention the tire placement. I wanted to look like as if the tire was there and the pistons were there, because he had a very, I don't want to say it, but he had a very interesting look. So there's him. We have the Bumblebee movie Megatron, which is of course always in comparison at all times, because I know there's always some people wondering how he looks against him, and that's bad. I mean, wow. Not so good for Megatron. We have a bit out of scale, like out of universe. We have, like I said, if we're going out of universe, we have the Transformers 1 Optimus Prime, which even if you can't see through the camera, oh wow. If you can't tell, he's shorter. Same thing with Bumblebee. Now we also have an Instagram exclusive, but I will show like certain social media exclusives to size comparisons, but I won't review them unless heavily requested or unless done a big enough revamp for a review. But this is the Megatronus. This isn't from any movie. I just wanted to make a Megatronus design. Either it's gonna be Megatronus, but it's the Megatronus frame. What do I mean by frame? Because even though I use this frame a lot, it will determine whether or not I want this to be Megatronus Prime, Megatron, but in like the B2. No, it wasn't a bomber. I'm gonna go with the Argo, but that is, or like a bomber plane, because that wide plane that was an IDW, or I'll make him Mortarmaster. So, and I really love this like design, by the way, but it's not what we're here to talk about, especially because I added this new look. But if you want, just request him. I'm not really trying to review him. If you really want to see the review, then be my guest. But and that's about it for what's it called? That's pretty much about it. But we do have a few more characters up my sleeve. It's been a while since I've had any Rise of the Beast characters, but it's kind of in scale. I'm not so much. We have the Rise of the Beast Cheetor. That could be accurate. You can make that what you will, but it could be very much accurate. But if you look closely at the figure, which will remove his head plate for that, he has this amazing feature. If you haven't noticed, hold on. If you haven't noticed by now, he has this very like scorching, translucent orange here, and there's a reason for that. Alright, so we're going to take a look at this playlist here. And what we're going to do is we're going to show you what it looks like. So I'm going to turn off my lights. I'm going to grab the camera. Actually, no, I can't grab the camera. But I'm going to move this setup is very messy, so it's been a while since I've ever even touched anything. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab all of this, stack it up over here. That way you can see my TV, all right? Because I need you guys to see the TV in order to understand what I'm talking about. Yes, there's a TV on my desk. I'm super happy for it. But this is definitely gonna cause my phone to fall, which I was right. All right, so just take a look at Piggy Island, right? I'm gonna turn off the lights. All right, and so what you'll see here is a really cool effect I did. He has, it's not too visible anymore, but there used to be a lot visible, but he has the burning effect. If you shine it in a brighter light, I think you'll see it. But you'll definitely start to see that huge, well, it's not huge anymore, but a burning effect on him, and I really love that because you can definitely get some really good lighting. I'll probably get some pictures in at the time, but that's nice. I did plan on adding LED lights, but nah, too much. But anyways, let's start with the articulation. He has a hinge, and he has a hinge connected through I forgot what it's called, but it's a hinge, so it can swivel all the way. The head can swivel all the way around. I don't think freely. Can't necessarily spin freely, but this is how it's connected. So because it's connected by that, it can actually rotate side to side. And these pieces are here supposed to emulate the neck piece, but you can definitely hinge these pieces out and actually have what looks to be almost kind of a ball jointed articulation. So you can have this hinge and then you can have it swivel. And you can always lock the pieces in place. So there's always that. Now for the arms is a different story. You already know how the arms articulate here with each segment. It doesn't spin, so that's sad, but it has a hinge right here, and it's composed of multiple hinges, so you can basically hinge this all the way out. Damn it. It's being very complicated. Anyways, I got it out. But with the arm, it can go almost all the way out. It can go all the way out that far. It can rotate forward a whole lot. And it has almost full 90-degree bend, and then it has a ball joint at the hand with the articulated figure design. It can go backward, it can go forward. With the butterfly joint, you can go even more, or even more back. So if you don't use the ball joint, it will unlock if you hinge it like that. So I think that's pretty cool. So So I have siblings that are playing atrocious music, so leave me alone. It's not atrocious, but damn it. Alright, I got it. It was very much a pain in my ass. But anyways, he has like some slight rotation at the torso. It's composed of a ball joint, so you can definitely kind of get some slight tilt. Not too much. So it's very limited, but you get what you get. And then the legs are very cool. So for this, I'm gonna have to remove this. So what for the legs is a very intuitive design. So, but first you can obviously have some really cool rotation. I'm pretty sure it can go more than that, but that's about as far as I'll go. If you hinge this piece slightly about here, I'm not trying to remove the whole thing because it's a hard process. So let me, anyways, if you can successfully remove this thing without it being, I'm not gonna say the word, but you can definitely have Some really great articulation. Scratch that. It's pretty much about 90 degrees, but most of my figures only go 90 degrees, so no complaining there. So very intuitive. And the feet is just so damn disappointing, I have no reason to just go over it. Even though he has this very nice foot guard that can make the foot go even more. Not by much, especially. If he had their foot design, it would have definitely done more. Oof, I almost completely forgot to mention the intuitive design. So there's a piece right here. If you swivel this out, you can get the leg to articulate that much. And you can do a full-on kick. Isn't that incredible? And it can close back, and you can lock it in place. If it doesn't fall. But you can also hinge this piece out of the way too. This helps secure the design. So, but yeah, you can actually remove it. By the way, I did remove the extra piece. But yeah, that is my look at the first movie figure of the summer, Transformers Rise of the Beast, Scourge. I'll see you guys in the next video. But about this rating, I almost forgot to mention the rating. But this figure was very enjoyable to make. Yeah, there was some pains, but I really loved every single minute detail and design I made. It's just so, it was such an enjoyable build, especially giving some little dust and rust details. Overall, this guy gets a 9 out of 10. If it wasn't for those weak ass knees, if those knees and those legs would have been great, I kind of slimmed down the proportions a bit, I think he would have been just perfect. Like, he would have been just such a... I don't even know what to tell you, man. It was just such a perfect figure. It looks beautiful. Not from... kind of from all angles, almost. Especially when you take into account how he looks. But I'm going to go ahead and see you guys next time in the next review. Hopefully it should be someone important.